All right. My name is Peter Brecht. I'm here with Mike Tanghe. We are with Falcon West Insurance. This is our first podcast. We haven't named this podcast yet. We don't even know if it's a podcast, but we're here just recording. It's actually the 29th of December, 2025. Mike, I know you are somewhere where there's a blizzard. So how are things out your way?
Yes, in my native Minnesota for the holidays, and true to form, had the blizzard warning that came true yesterday. So it was about 10 inches of snow, 40-mile-an-hour winds, and strong reminders why it's a great place to visit and live in San Diego.
Yeah. I'm here in San Diego. It was 72 degrees yesterday. I was playing basketball with my son and actually working up a sweat, so a little bit different. So today we kind of brainstormed a couple things we wanted to talk about, and there's so many. I don't know. We had probably between us like 50 topics that we wanted to kind of play with, but we'll see where this goes. I think what we wanted to talk about today was, sort of our plan going into 2026, and maybe real quick to start, maybe sharing where things started to change in 2020, because I know when you and I first met, a lot of things were kind of shifting gears, due to COVID. So could you maybe catch us up to speed and give us a recap of where the agency maybe started, and then maybe where things started to change and bring us up to 2025?
Absolutely. Thanks, Peter. So lots of change over the past 5 years, and it was fun in preparing for this, just running through what some of those things are. So just to put things in context, our agency, Falcon West, started in 1981. It took us 32 years to achieve the $1 million revenue mark. That's in gross commissions. And that happened in 2013. In 2020, what did our company look like? We had 10 full-time customer service team members. We had 6 part-time customer service team members. We had 5 producers, and our agency was a little over $3 million in revenue. So today, we have 17 full-time customer service, 5 part-time customer service and contractors, and then 7 full-time producers. And we should finish this year at about $6.5 million in revenue.
Okay. Lots of growth. You've been doing this for a very long time. The technology shift, right? We're going into this kind of AI phase of things now. How are you using AI? Are you using it on a daily basis? I'm just going to kind of bring it out in the open really quickly here, but how has that been part of your process, or are you still kind of new to it? Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would put myself as a daily user, but certainly new to it. If you just talk about it, especially as we think of things historically, like how far the industry has come, and not to totally date myself, but I remember when I first started right out of college, I was working for Federated Insurance, great company out of Owatonna, Minnesota. And in the training programs, you would hear on the overhead speaker a voice come on and say, "Does anyone have the Peterson file? Does anyone have the Peterson file?" And literally that would be broadcasted over 4,500 employees across like 8 different buildings in Owatonna when someone had misplaced a customer file. And I remember like kind of looking up at this voice coming from the ceiling thinking like, wow, like what have I gotten into here? And it's fun to see just all the changes that have happened, specifically asking about AI. This we view as one of those tools, not a replacement at all, but a tool that is going to dramatically change the way how we operate and allow our people to focus on what they do best, dealing with customers and helping customers understand insurance, in ridding them of some of these repetitive tasks that are necessary, but don't necessarily bring value to the client.
Yeah, and kind of backing up into that. So one thing that we focused on, I think, for the past couple of years. So when I started joining the agency, it was kind of a fun experience for me. It helped kind of consult or worked with a friend of mine that did home and auto insurance. And one thing that kind of stuck out to me was the process, right? Was, okay, a website is kind of where I came from in the automotive business. Was, we had a website, we had processes, we did the same thing over and over again, the same way every single time. And when I started, it was like, okay, I think my first phone call was a guy that needed home insurance. And it's like, okay, well, I didn't even know what questions to ask him. And so eventually what ended up happening was we started standardizing, okay, here's the questions we need to ask for home and auto and umbrella. And so what we've done and really been helpful is kind of starting to standardize all those processes so that we can actually start to use some of these newer tools and resources that are out there like AI. But there's some pretty ambitious goals that we have as an agency, as a brokerage. But in terms of growth, like we have all these tools now, but I think the question that I would ask as part of the team, and I'd want to hear from you as the president, is, what's in it for the team? Like if we're going to grow as a company, how would you answer the what's in it for your employees, what's in it for me question?
Yeah, so great question. I would say if you had to break this down into like kind of what bullet points, and they're really on different levels of a person in what drives a person. So the first would be that when you have tools that let you do your job better, you can then focus on what you enjoy the most and what brings the most joy to you. And for our people, I think by and large, if you look at them, we have varying personalities, we have varying skill sets, we have varying backgrounds on where people have come from. But if you look at what drives them, it would be that sense of accomplishment when they know that they've done a job well, when they've completed that task and helped out that client. And that is effectively that the dopamine rush that they'll get is, hey, a client that came to them with a problem and they were able to use their skills, use their talents, use their knowledge in helping solve that problem. And we want our employees to be able to do that. We want them to be able to do that with better tools. And we want them to then enjoy more of these types of interactions. And when we talked about a little bit earlier is, using AI. What does AI do? It doesn't replace a person, but it instead replaces the repetitive tasks. It can do something very quickly that is a repetitive task that, again, that's not what our clients are looking for. They're not looking for that type of rote experience. What they are looking for is someone to explain why they need a certain coverage or what to do in a certain situation. That's what our clients want from us. And by utilizing technology, and it's not just AI, it's other tools as well, they will have more time to be able to service more people. So when you ask the question, what's in it for them? One, it's going to give you more of those enjoyable customer interactions. And if you break it down on just a very personal level, what does that mean for the agency? What does that mean for team members? Is we're allowed to pay people more. When we have more revenue coming in, that in turn is revenue that goes out to our employees in the form of salaries, bonuses, growth plans, benefits. So those types of perks are all things that are byproducts of that growth that we're looking for.
Absolutely. As a broker, I kind of get excited about having more time to go talk with more clients, right? And talking to our account managers, kind of the same thing. And for a minute, I thought that AI was a sort of a shiny new object, right? And the reality is, I'm like, okay, it's grown so much even in the past 6 months. I think it's a lot like the internet, right? Where at first I still can remember my parents getting email, right? And then now it's everywhere, right? It used to be you have to log in, wait like 10 minutes, I think, for the email to download and then figure it out, right? You could still hear it on AOL. And now it's just in your pocket all the time. But I think AI is very similar. So like really excited to see where 2026 takes us. Kind of on that point. So we started to kind of build out our own tool set internally, and we'd had this conversation, I think, about a year, maybe even 2 years ago, we want to build our own tool. And I remember I was actually driving to our office in San Diego when we had this phone call, and I turned off my music. I turned off, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, I think this is like the worst idea ever. Like I just thought it was impossible. Because the reality was, I'm like, I just don't think it's there yet, and I think that we're going to outsource this, and then someone else is going to have that technology, and they're going to take our ideas, and so it took me a long time, I think, to come around to the way of thinking where it's like, no, this is actually a possibility. We found some really smart people that were able to kind of help us get there. Really, just kind of hitting our head against the wall until we came up with the right solutions and all that. But we're now at a place where we're starting to do that. So this build versus buy sort of mentality, building it on our own has been, I think, really kind of almost transformative in the sense of like owning and being able to feel secure and using it with like customer data and all that other stuff too. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, but in the sense of, having that as kind of a philosophy, right? Where we want to have ownership of everything that we're doing. And in the sense too, like building it in-house is kind of causing us to look at ways to use it practically versus like having another company saying like, this is how you're going to do it because that's the process and the way that we built it, right? I think we're able to like look at the tool and say, no, we want to use the tool for this purpose versus another. You've been kind of helping develop all of this. Have there been ways that you've used technology in a way that maybe you hadn't thought about it originally. I think that's what I'm trying to get after here, because we have the flexibility.
Yeah. So I think definitely. And what you talked about, that journey of building something in-house versus going out and purchasing something or licensing something or hiring someone to help do it. Like all good things are all good lessons. Learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
And to go out, it's not a one size fits all. And, the beauty of the insurance industry is that you can find a home that's perfect for you. In our agency, we would consider ourselves a mid-size, fiercely independent agency.
Yes.
Isn't like the largest brokerages in the world, and isn't like even, or some of our competitors that are here in town or in California.
Hmm.
And there's certain ways that we do things. We think that that's the best way. That doesn't mean we don't change our ways when we learn new ways. But in the past, we've gone out and bought technology that promises to do, save your staff this amount of time or do this super cool thing that has been annoying for our clients or annoying for us. And what we found is that people just don't use it because all of a sudden it's something that now they have to learn something new that isn't necessarily going to replace what they're doing right now. So now they have to do their existing work and learn this new thing. And then if it works, which we're not sure of because we haven't used it yet, and we got to kind of go on the promises of this company that's looking to sell their product, then maybe they'll switch. But to me, that's just not a model that works well for us, and for others, maybe, and that's great for them. So instead, what we did with this project was we said, what tasks are we doing now that fit in this repetitive box that aren't client facing and don't provide a lot of value, but again, are essential and things that we have to do? We looked at that and then looked at, okay, and what's a tool, this AI tool, and we evaluated several others before we decided on the platform that we're using.
Hmm.
Does this tool help us do this task in a more efficient manner? And then can we then train everyone on how to do that? And it checked all those boxes. So we're super excited to utilize this to help roll out this technology to our teams because it is built within, and it's built within our existing way how we do things and how our team is doing things. And it is designed to remove those repetitive tasks and make you have a more enjoyable position.
So technology alone isn't how we're going to grow, right? Obviously, that's like a small part of it. I mean, there's other parts of it, right? Which is finding the right people. I think I kind of want to touch on hiring and kind of like looking for the right people and talent, because part of again, going back to when I joined Falcon West, I sort of had this mentality that, and I got to talk with a lot of people. My first phone call with Bill Leversey, I remember he was just he came across very strong, very straightforward and direct, and kind of told me like, this is what it is, this is how it's going to be. If that doesn't sound like fun to you, then you probably shouldn't try doing this, right? It was just kind of cut and dry. And I respected that, right? It was, but at the same time, I was like, that's a guy that I want to work with. And then talking to you, talking to Matt, all these people, I kind of decided like, this is the group of people that I want to be playing the game with, right? And you've done such a great job hiring. Jason and Myra have done such a great job finding the right people. How would you, as the president, like, how have you gotten to this point where you've surrounded yourself with the right people? I mean, there's probably a sense of luck to it, but at the same time, like, you've been able to attract such great people. And I want to, we want to be able to continue doing that. But what's that skill set look like, or who are we looking for, I guess? Like, what's that profile, or is there one?
Great questions. It kind of a anecdote is I was preparing for this on my dual screen setup. I had my notes that I was typing on, and then I actually brought up our Falcon West team website that you did a wonderful job putting together and redoing last year. And so on my second screen, I just had all the pictures of our team members. And it was just it put a smile on my face as I kind of looked down and looked at everyone's pictures and, people that I've worked with. Some for a very long time, going on 12 years for me. But we have people at our agency, 2 people that have been with us for over 20 years at Falcon West. And looking at when people came on board, it brought a smile to my face. So to answer your question, how did we? Certainly luck plays a good part. But I think if you do a good job of helping clients, you have the right values in place of that's what's most important is helping clients. But clients can also be the underwriters that you work with. Clients can also be your coworkers, your colleagues. If you look to help all those people out and you genuinely derive joy from that, then that's the type of person that we want here. Doesn't matter if you don't know insurance, we can train you on insurance, we can get you up to speed on that. But if you share those characteristics, and that's something that we look for in the hiring process. And that doesn't mean that every hire that we've had is worked out 100%. We've had some people that unfortunately didn't fit that model and are no longer working with us. But again, the majority of the times we get it right. And what I'm excited about this podcast and excited about in 2026 is just getting that word out of here's what we're doing. Here's why we do it. If this is something that resonates with you, then we'd love to talk with you and see if there's a ability for us to work together.
Yeah. And I think if there's anything else, I mean, we're definitely, it's a culture thing, right? For us is we're all working virtually, where this podcast is actually part of kind of our initiative to be more, I think, engaged with our people, right? If no one else hears this, we want our team to hear this. We want our team to respond. We want our team to come up with a name of this podcast. Like we want engagement on this, right? Yeah, exactly. We might have to. So cool. Well, hey, I think we've got kind of a good footprint here to start. But what I want to end with is kind of a prediction for 2026. So give me one of your hot takes for 26. Like, what do you think is going to happen? I don't care. Maybe it's a Vikings prediction. Maybe it's an insurance prediction. Give me something that we can look back on at the end of this year and say, man, Mike got it right, or man, we were way off. And I'll give you mine too.
So funny, and no, we didn't rehearse this beforehand, but I actually do have a prediction that hit on both of Peter's points. As a 26, my prediction is that the Minnesota Vikings will become Super Bowl champions, and our agency will continue to thrive with world-class team members, achieving growth in their professional lives, resulting in more happy customers. And I guarantee 100% certainty that one of those two will come true.
All right, I like that. My prediction is a little more direct. So I think 2026 is the year that there will be some like cybersecurity event. So I think there's going to be not like some data leak from like ChatGPT or Claude or something. I think there's going to actually be a cyber group that is going to use AI to carry out a cyber attack of some sort. So not sure how that's going to play out. I hope it doesn't. But I think AI is actually there where they're going to be able to actually deploy something to that nature. So I've been following it very closely, the security side of all this, and I think we're there. So I hope it doesn't come true, but I think that's kind of my hot take, unfortunately.
All right. Well, hopefully one of those three predictions between the both of us. You do bring up an interesting point, though, and that's something that prior to COVID, if you would have said, what do you think is much more likely to happen? Some sort of cyber-related event that takes large portions of our just lives offline, or a global pandemic that's caused by a virus? I would have, bet. I'm not a betting person at all. I'm too frugal for that. But I would have, had I been given the choice, 100% bet on it would be a cyber-related event and not something else. So, it's a major concern. It's a major concern for our clients, and not necessarily, the global aspect of it, but how they run their companies, and that's how they run their lives. And if that gets taken off for a period of time, how does my business continue? So, a very applicable concern, and hopefully that doesn't come to fruition, but it certainly will in some form or fashion. And hopefully not on just a too grand a scale.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's something I've been watching, following closely. But again, I just hope it doesn't happen. But I'm kind of thinking that the technology's there. So unfortunately, if it's in the wrong hands, it gets deployed the wrong way. So all right, I want to end. I wasn't able to make it to the Christmas lunch with the team, but one of my traditions is I have something that I do. It's called the Bulldog Award, and so. Ever since I've been in sales or in some position of leadership, I've had this around. So I grew up in the automotive industry, and Mini Cooper was one of the brands that I was with, and the mascot for Mini is the Bulldog. And so at the company that I worked for, we received the Bulldog Award numerous years in a row and kind of kept that tradition going. So the first year went to our BDC rep, Marianne, who's fantastic. She just a great customer representative. And this year, I want to give it to Maceo Brown. So he joined us. He went through our academy program, and He's just been, he came on as a broker shortly after, and he's just been putting in the work. And I just want to recognize that. So, Maceo, I'll be sending this to you. If you haven't already received this by the time this goes out, I just want to recognize your hard work this year, and make sure you have this up on your mantle or something. But it's, yeah, you're the recipient of the Bulldog Award this year. So thank you for your hard work.
Well done, Maceo. Well deserved and fantastic to see.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, this is going to be the end of our first episode. So we're here 30 minutes. We'll see if how much of this we keep, and we'll be back hopefully here in a week or two with our next episode. So, Mike, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. And to all of you out there listening, appreciate you being here. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Appreciate it.